Good morning to all of you. In the last class, we are discussing about the sericulture, and if my memory goes right, we have discussed about the different types of silks, and also we have tried to understand the life cycle of the uh, Bombax mori, that the silk moth. So today I will continue uh, with the sericulture. Uh, First, I would like to rebrush what we have discussed in the life cycle of the silkworm. All of you know that the after mating, the female moth lays the egg, and eggs they are hatched into larva, and there will be uh, four larval stages: young larva, which will last for 10 days, and late age worms will last for 14 days. Afterwards, they start building the cocoons and they metamorphose into a pupa. And then within 10 to 12 days from the pupa, the moth emerges. And then it will survive for a brief period of time, and during that it will mate and eggs are deposited by the female, and then they will die. And during the life cycle of the silkworm, only the larval stages are the feeding stages. All other stages are off-feed stages. So now we will uh, continue with this sericulture. Actually, in the eggs of the uh, silk moth, there are two types of eggs. One is the diapause eggs, and another one is the non-diapause eggs. Uh, the diapause eggs, that is the hibernating eggs. These are laid by the silk moths inhabiting the temperate regions, especially in the cold climate. Mostly here we call it as univoltine because after laying the eggs will not hatch and larva will come out. But instead of that, the egg will remain in dormancy, what you call hibernation, and only during the spring it emerges and comes out. That is what you call univoltine here. But in a non-diapause eggs, silk moths inhabiting especially subtropical and tropical region, there is no dormancy or hibernation. They uh, eggs hatch and the larva comes out. Usually, if only two life cycle takes place in a year, we call it as bivoltine. If it is more than two, then we call it as multivoltine here. That is basically they are diapause and non-diapause eggs. Now let's start how the rearing of the silkworm. Once if you have to start the sericulture, we should have the practical knowledge of rearing the silkworm. The first in any of the silkworm rearing, the first thing is the selection of the silkworm race. Uh, Especially in this region, we go for multi-volatile race because in a year it will it will complete 5 to 6 life cycle, and but the quality of the silk we get it is slightly inferior compared to bivoltine and univoltine. Because these are non-hibernating eggs, whereas univoltine and bivoltine races are also reared in India, but uh, they require very cold climate, and yearly only one life cycle they complete. So depending upon the climatic condition and the suggestion given by the Department of Sericulture, you can choose the race, whether it's a multivoltine, bivoltine, or univoltine. Then silk seed production. Seed means eggs. Hybrids of multivoltine and bivoltine, they are reared commercially for its superior quality and huge quantity of the eggs, the what you call the silkworm seeds. Because here you cannot generally the sericulturists do not go for egg production, because if you want the moth to produce the egg means it has to cut open the cocoon where the cocoon has no value then. And getting the eggs from them is a very difficult thing because they will start flying. So that's why uh, usually the farmers get the seeds or what you call the silkworm eggs from the granages. These are mostly in Karnataka. They are all government owned one. There are where the seeds are produced in large scale. That is what you call grainages. And at the same time, they ensure healthy, disease-free cocoons for the pure race of what you have selected. And usually when the eggs are laid, they are preserved at a temperature of 23 to 25 degrees Celsius in wooden trays at a relative humidity of 70 to 80%. Uh, After emergence, the females transferred to plastic trays. Males and females are transferred to plastic trays where they are allowed to copulate with the male of desired race under a black cloth for 3 hours. Black cloth will protect them from the sun rays. If in the dark, if they undertake the copulation, you will get a superior quality eggs. And within 12 hours after copulation, the female lays 400 to 600 eggs. And these eggs are made to lay on the white or black cards, and they are known as egg cards. Each egg card will have 400 to 600 eggs. And actually the farmers are supplied with this egg card. But before you start this rearing of the sericulture, what is expected is the cultivation of the mulberry. Cultivation of the mulberry is known as moriculture. Mulberry silkworms, because we here in this part of Karnataka or in the entire Karnataka, I should say that we go for mulberry silk. Uh, For this, first we have to select the mulberry plants. The scientific name of the mulberry plants is Morus alba, Morus indica, Morus serrata, and Morus latifolia. Though there are more than these four um, species of mulberry are very good for silkworm cultivation because of their fast growth, succulent foliage, and disease free. So that's why people here either they go for Morus alba or Morus indica or Morus serrata or Morus latifolia. Then along with that some alternate plants are also planted like sage, orange, lettuce, people. Maybe may not be. It is not essential. Usually in this part I have seen that in at least in Uttara Kannada they go for Morus alba or Morus indica. Here the ideal temperature for this uh, silk mulberry plant is 15 to 37 degrees Celsius, and rainfall range should be 600 to 2500 millimeter. And altitude, it may range from 300 to 900 meters above the sea level. So that's the reason in the coastal area we do not get a very good mulberry plants. But if you go to Sicily and all those area, Appaghat in Uttara Kannada also, you will get very good quality mulberry leaves compared here, because here it requires a elevation altitude of around 300 plus. Mostly these mulberry plants are cultivated in Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. It's a deep-rooted perennial. Once you plant it, you can cultivate it for many years. Grows well in the loamy soil or red soil, sandy loamy soil. The soil is, but the soil condition here is ideal for that. Plantation is done usually during early spring or in the late autumn with stem cuttings or root grafting. Either you can get the cuttings from the already existing mulberry garden, or you can even take the root grafting also. Then the how you have to plant it? There are two systems. One is the pit system and another one is the row system. If it is a pit system, ಏನು ಪಿಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಂಡ ತೆಗೆದು ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಒಂದು ಲೈನಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಲೈನಿಗೆ ದ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಅರೌಂಡ್ ಅಪ್ ಟು 0.75 to 0.9 centimeters. Sorry, it should be meter, not centimeter. 0.75 to 0.9 ಮೀಟರ್ ಇದಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ಗಿಡದಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಗಿಡಕ್ಕೆ 0.45 ಟು 0.9 ಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಒಂದರಿಂದ ಒಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಇನ್ನು ಯಾವುದು ಪಿಚ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮಲ್ಲಿ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಅಂದರೆ ರೋಸ್, ಅನದರ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಇದ್ದ ರೋಸ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗಿ ಕಾಲುವೆ ತೆಗೆದುಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆಮ್, ಅದು ಒಂದು ರೋದಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ರೋಗೆ ದ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ 0.3 meters to 0.6 meters. ಮತ್ತು ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ನಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಪ್ಲಾಂಟಿಗೆ 0.10 to 0.25 meters ಒಂದೊಂದು ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೆಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಐದರ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆರ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಕಾಲ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ಸ್. Then you have to water them, you have to manure them, and then you will get a good harvest. But even the mulberries have certain diseases. One is the powdery mildew. It is said due to fungus. I have kept there's one photograph of the leaf also, how it appears. Actually, the mulberry leaf should appear perfectly dark green if it is very good. So sometimes they will get it powdery mildew, that is Phylactinea corelia. It is causing yellow brown patches on the lower surface of the leaves. Another disease is the leaf spots. This is also uh, because of fungus, that is Cercospora uh, moricola. It forms circular brownish black spots like this. Sometimes even the plants are also attacked by the insect pest like leaf-eating caterpillars, jassids, bugs, scaly insects, thrips, stem girdle beetles, powder pest beetles. All of them are there. But you cannot spray the pesticides. The problem is because you are going to use the leaf for the silkworm. So that's why the care should be taken. And even if you want to spray, mostly people go for biopesticides. Now, once your mulberry garden is ready, then you can bring the egg cards from the granages. Uh, f- Before that, we should have a rearing house. Rearing house for 100 DFLs, what we call 100 egg cards. Each card having 400 to 600 eggs. Usually, you can construct the rearing house doesn't need any big construction. You can construct that using the locally available material. For example, if you are bringing 100 DFLs or cards, construct rearing house which is about 18 to 18 feet in length and 12 feet in width and 10 feet in height. Usually at a elevated and shady place. Elevated and shady place. Um, ಎಲಿವೇಟೆಡ್ ಯಾಕಿರಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಮಳೆಗಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರು ಒಳಗಡೆ ಬರಬಾರ್ದು. ಫಾರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ದ ರೀಸನ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಎತ್ತರ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಟ್ಟಬೇಕು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸರೌಂಡಿಂಗ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಯು ಶುಡ್ ಕೀಪ್ 3 feet ಬಾಲ್ಕನಿ ಸರೌಂಡಿಂಗ್ ದ ರೇರಿಂಗ್ ಹೌಸ್. ಯಾಕಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಫಾರ್ ಯುವರ್ ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಐದರ್ ಟು ಫೀಡ್ ದೆಮ್ or for various other activities. So provide 3 feet balcony surrounding the rearing house. Then the room should be properly ventilated with sufficient number of windows and ventilators so that free air circulation should be there inside. Otherwise, you are rearing the young worms, living worms. So it may give you foul smell and it may contaminate the air. So that's why proper ventilation is a must here. Then cover but at the same time, though you have ventilators and windows, you cannot keep it open. Instead of that, you have to cover the windows and ventilators with nylon net. Otherwise, houseflies, uji flies will come inside and they may cause maximum damage to your young worms. So that's why uh, it should be netted. The windows and ventilators are to be netted with nylon net. Before rearing, what you have to do is you have to disinfect the rearing house and all the applications, all the instruments with 5% bleaching powder. This is a must. Or even you can use the formaldehyde also. Dissolve 50 grams of the bleaching powder in 1 liter of water in a big plastic bucket. You have to stir them constantly and keep it for half an hour. Then whatever the clear solution that you get, it should be sprayed uh, to each and every corner of the raining house, and all equipments that are being used there 3 days before raining. Even instead of the 5% bleaching powder, you can use the 2% formalin solution also. So 2% making is take one part of market available formalin, mix it with 17 parts of water. Spray the solution in the rearing house and appliances again 3 days before the rearing. Then close the door, windows and ventilators. Make the room airtight. Even the rearing appliances. Now I have told you there are certain equipments or rearing appliances you need. What are the appliances? You should need a power sprayer because you have to disinfect now and then. Then rearing stands, rearing trays, which you can see in the photograph, foam pads, wax coated paraffin papers are required, nylon nets, then basket for keeping the leaves, gunny bags, bamboo mountages, sometimes the dryer, especially during the rainy season, it is essential. These are some of the essential equipments that are needed. Tools, see, this is the mountages, this is the nylon net, this is the rearing tray, this is also a rearing tray. Now, once you disinfect the
ಸರ್
rearing,
ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಿಲ್ಲ.
ಯಾವುದು ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ?
ಸರ್ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ಸ್ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಿಲ್ಲ.
ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ನೋಡ್ತೀನಿ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಇನ್ನೂವರೆಗೆ ಒಂದು ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಿಲ್ವಾ?
ಇಲ್ಲ
ಇಲ್ಲ
ಸರ್.
ಸರ್.
ಮತ್ತೆ ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಾದ್ರು? ಈಗ
ಎಸ್ ಸರ್.
ಸೊ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಗೋ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್. ಇದು ಯಾವುದು ಫೋಟೋ ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾತ್ರ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಪ್ಲಾಂಟೇಶನ್ ಏನು ಮಲ್ಬರಿ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡೋದು ಪಿಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಹೊಂಡ ಕಡ್ದು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಒಂದು ಲೈನಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಲೈನಿಗೆ ಸೆಂಟಿಮೀಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, 0.75 ಮೀಟರ್ ಇಂದ 0.9 ಸೆಂಟಿಮೀಟರ್. ಒಂದು ಗಿಡದಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಗಿಡಕ್ಕೆ 0.45 ಮೀಟರ್ನಿಂದ 9 ಮೀಟರ್ವರೆಗೆ, 0.9 ಮೀಟರ್. ಇನ್ನು ರೋ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. ರೋ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಉದ್ದದಾಗಿ ಕಾಲುವೆ ತೆಗೆದು ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ. ಈ ಕಬ್ಬೆಲ್ಲ ನೆಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆ, ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡಿ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ರೋದಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಕಾಲುವೆಯಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಾಲುವೆಗೆ 0.3 ಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಟು 0.6 ಮೀಟರ್ಸ್, ಒಂದು ಗಿಡದಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಗಿಡಕ್ಕೆ 0.10 ಟು 0.25 ಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಒನ್ ಫೋಟೋಗ್ರಾಫ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಸೀಸಸ್ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ಪೌಲ್ಟ್ರಿ ಮಾಲ್ಡ್ಯೂ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಎಲೆಗೆ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಲೀಫ್ ಸ್ಪಾಟ್, ಬ್ರೌನಿಶ್ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಸ್ಪಾಟ್ಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸರ್ಕೋಸ್ಪೋರಾ ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷನ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇದು ರೇರಿಂಗ್ ಹೌಸ್, ಇದು ರೇರಿಂಗ್ ಟ್ರೇಸ್. ಇದು ಕೂಡ ರೇರಿಂಗ್ ಟ್ರೇಸ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎಕ್ವಿಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಮೌಂಟೇಜಸ್. ಕಕೂನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಬಿಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಕಕೂನ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಲೋಕಲ್ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಚಂದ್ರಿಕೆ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಇದು ನೈಲಾನ್ ನೆಟ್, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ರೇರಿಂಗ್ ಟ್ರೇಸ್. ಓಕೆ, now incubation and brushing. What you have to do is you have to spread the eggs on a layer of paraffin paper. Once you bring the egg card from the granages, you spread the eggs on one layer on a paraffin paper. This paraffin paper should be kept on a bamboo tray. Bamboo tray the mele paraffin paper into other mele you have to spread the eggs. Then cover the eggs with another paraffin paper. Except rainy season, keep a wet foam pad around the eggs covered by the paraffin paper. Why it is required is, in a dry season, uh, eggs may get desiccated, so that's why you have to add wet foam pads. Foam pad, they absorb water, and surrounding that one, keep wet foam pad around the egg covered by the paraffin paper. Usually the room temperature should be maintained at 25 to 26 degrees Celsius and relative humidity around 80%. Then when the blue pinhead appears, wrap the eggs. By cutting the eggs, some blue pinheads will appear uh, in a tissue paper. Keep the eggs inside the black pointed box and cover the black cloth or paper for 1 or 2 days. At that time, now it is that the eggs are ready for hatching. Now what you have to do is you have to keep the eggs inside a black box. Black box andre a box painted with black, or cover it with black cloths or paper for 1 or 2 days, because in the darkness the hatching will be more successful. Afterwards, after 1 or 2 days, expose the eggs under the diffused sunlight. Diffused sunlight means under the shade. So ಒಂದೇ ಸರಿ ನೀವು ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಡಾರ್ಕ್ನೆಸ್ ಇಂದ you cannot transfer that to bright sunlight, but you should transfer that to some diffused light under shade. Then you have to take a soft brush, or even feathers, bird feathers will do. Transfer the newly hatched one carefully with a soft brush or feather on a paraffin coated paper, which is also kept on a rearing tray. Once the worms emerges, feed the worms with tender leaves. Tender leaves, usually mulberry plant na ತುದಿಗೆ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, third and fourth leaf from the apex. So they are very tender, juicy. And you cannot put the entire leaf. You have to chop the leaf into small pieces, zero point 0.5 to 0.1 centimeter size leaves. You have to get the leaves and cut it and feed them. So this rearing of the young worms is known as chalky rearing. Rearing of the young worms is known as chalky rearing, and this chalky rearing is a very important stage here. It's a very important stage because they are very young and tender. Lot of care is also required here. So what you have to do is you have to distribute the worms uniformly in the trays, and always feed this young silkworm larva with nutritious and succulent leaves. So that's why you need tender leaves which will have more water. Usually 3 to 4 times you have to feed them with the tender leaves of the size of 0.5 to 2 centimeter cut pieces. On an average, for 100 egg DFLs, you require 5 kg for first, and for second instar it is around 18 kg. See, from one instar to another instar, the food requirement will be very huge. In the first instar I have told you, the duration between the two successive moults, we call it as instar. So from in the first instar, when the eggs hatch and the young tiny larva comes out, they require about 5 kg of cut mulberry leaves for 100 DFL. But for the second instar, after first mount, the larva will grow in size. It requires 18 kg per 100 DFL. In the first instar, you have to chop the leaves to the size of 0.5 to 2 centimeters. But in the second stage, the size of the leaf cuts are more. It can be about 2 to 4 centimeters. And now also you have to feed 3 to 4 times. During this chalky mounting, that is the young worm rearing nalli, you have to maintain the temperature around 27 to 28 degrees Celsius and the relative humidity of 80 to 90%. Every day before the second feeding, first feeding ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಡ್ಬೇಕು, second feeding, before second feeding, spread the bed to facilitate drying of the leaf applied in the previous feeding. ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲದೂ ಖಾಲಿ ಆಗಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಏನೋ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಉಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಡ್ರೈ ಆಗುವಂಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇದು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಅದರ್ವೈಸ್ ಇಫ್ ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನಫ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಯಿಶ್ಚರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎ ಲಾಂಗರ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾಚ್ ಫಂಗಸ್. Then you have to clean the bed once during first install, second, first mount and second mount. ಆಮೇಲೆ daily during the third stage with cotton cleaning net of the mesh size 0.5 to 2 centimeters. Before molting, you have to reduce the bed thickness also. How do we understand the worms are ready for molting? When 97% of the worms settle for molting, they stop feeding. During this time, you have to spray or dust slacked lime also on the body of the worms. Lime, one hand it is for working as a disinfectant, even it is absorbing excess amount of moisture. During the molting, actually we have to remove the paraffin paper and foam pad during the mold. See, this is the bamboo tray where they are there. So in this is the Chaki worm ready. After second mold, it is the late age ring. Now for this mulberry, for this silkworm, you have to use the mulberry leaves from a plantation which is 60 days old plantation. In the sense, the leaf should not be very coarse. Old leaves irbardu, only new leaves. So that's why 60 days old plantation is ideal. Ideal thing is 4 times you have to feed the worms and maintain the temperature, even the late age rearing, around 25 to 26 degrees Celsius and relative humidity of 65 to 70%. You can use the tender leaves only for resuming. What do you mean by resuming? After the mold, third and fourth mold, once you put these tender leaves, afterwards the coarse leaves will do, older leaves will do. After third and fourth mold, once you feed them with the tender leaves. Usually in the fourth stage, you can use the medium leaves, in the sense they are not very old or at the same time they are not tender. But in the fifth stage, you can put the old leaves also. As the molting increases, the size of the, after every molting, the size of the worm increases, becomes bigger and bigger. So as a result, when the worms grow, you have to transfer the worms to more number of trays so that they have to maintain the minimum density there. It requires around, you can leave 60 to 70 larvae per square foot. For 1 foot into 1 foot area, you can leave 60 to 70 larvae. Then you have to clean the bed with the help of bed cleaning net. You may ask how to clean the bed. It's very easy. On this, I will go back. This tray, put that net cleaning, bed cleaning net ಅನ್ನು ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ. Then put the leaves on it, on the net. Then the worms from here will slowly crawl through the mesh of the net and start eating the fresh leaves. Then when all leaves have entered the crosses to the nest and eating the leaves above, that means then you can take the tray and clean it. This is how easily it has been done. Uh, then you have to replace the after cleaning, you have to replace the paraffin paper with clean newspaper will do. In the late age rearing, you can, instead of paraffin paper, you can use the newspaper because it will absorb excess amount of moisture also. Then you have to dust with one in, disinfectant, that is Labex, half an hour before the feeding when the leaves come out of the mold. Uh, every day you have to apply this Labex half an hour before the second feeding. First feeding you can do, before second feeding you first half an hour before that apply this Labex powder. Then there must be proper cross ventilation. More than that, one should provide correct bed spacing and feed them adequately because they are the voracious feeders. See, then what are the cares that should be taken during the molting? I have told you when 90 to 95% of the worms stop feeding, you can understand that they are ready for molting. Spread the bed for proper drying and ventilation and aeration. You have to dust the lime powder on the bed when the worms are ready for molting. And try to keep the humidity low because lime powder will absorb excess amount of moisture and will keep the humidity low. Then after the fifth install, pick fully ripened worms. Fully ripened worms will be transparent, shortened, and that shows they are ready for mounting. Then hand pick them and put on a suitable mountages like rotary or bamboo mountages with a spacing about 40 to 45 worms per square feet area. This is the one, what you call Chandrike. See, there are compartments. This will prevent the aggregation of the worms at one corner. And that is called the bamboo, this thing which I have shown you. Now it is called Chandrike. And it is rotating leftward direction. ಸ್ಲೋ ಆಗಿ ತಿಂತಾ ಇರುವಂಗಿದ್ರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೇದು ಸೊ ದಟ್ ವರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗಾಟ್ ಡಂಪ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಒನ್ ಪೊಸಿಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಮೂಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗಿ ಇದಾಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತವೆ ಸೊ remove the during this period observe each and every worm deceased or dead worms if they are there they are to be removed immediately and the maintenance of the temperature is equally important at 27 to 28 degrees Celsius and relative humidity of 70%. But as far as possible, avoid the temperature above 28 degrees Celsius and relative humidity beyond 60%. The care should be taken to remove the excess amount of moisture along with the stale air so that there will be proper ventilation. Once you put the larva on the chandrike or the mount aegis, they will start spinning their own cocoons. Inside, the larva metamorphoses into pupa and there should be proper aeration and remove excess amount of moisture and even light should not be very strong light. So no sun rays should fall directly on them. After 5 days of leaving the worms on a chandrike, fifth day of the morning you can harvest the cocoons. And once you harvest the cocoons, remove flimsy, strained and irregular sized cocoons because there is no market value for them. So this is the like this you can store them. Then if you are having the sericulture, you have to have the disinfection carried out prior to the entry of wearing house. So that's why you have to wash your hand and feet whenever you go inside. And as far as possible, avoid the other persons who are not involved in rearing. Then you have to get it the 5% high grade bleaching powder. 5% high grade bleaching powder, that you have to put it around the rearing house at every 5 to 6 days of interval. Then whatever the diseased worms or died worms are there, you have to dispose them properly. How to make the very eco-friendly disposal of these uh, diseased worms? Then either burn them or bury them. Then immediately you have to clean the rearing floor with 2% bleaching powder solution. Every time before and after bed cleaning, you have to clean the bed also. Sometimes you can use some of the disinfectants like Lavax on the larva when the larva comes out of mouth. Yes, in this photograph it is visible here. Then immediately within 2 3 days the cocoons are to be marketed. Otherwise, what happens? The pupa inside will metamorphose into adult, and adults will cut open the cocoon and come out where there is no market value or commercial value. So that's why immediately after that you have to uh, the care should be taken to protect them. Now we should also have an information about the disease of the silkworm. We have seen what are the diseases of the mulberry plant, but what are the diseases of silkworm? One of the major diseases is pebrine, which is caused by a protozoa, that is Nemesia bombycis. On the body of the larva, some pepper-like spots will appear. Not only that, the larva becomes wrinkled, skinned, and becomes very slow, sluggish. The next disease is the flatchery. It's a bacterial disease, that is Bacillus thuringiensis. It it makes certain changes in the body of the silk moth, that they become black green color. Another disease is muscardine. There is a fungus caused with muscardine, especially in the humid, in the rainy season. It will be there. Then even yellow muscardines can be there. Then uh, one thing which I have to mention here is glaciae is another disease. It has been caused by Borrelina virus. How? What are the symptoms? Swelling of joints, and skin rupture. There will be there, and virus causes in Grassere the swelling of the segments, and as a result, there will be rupture of the skin also. So this is uh, what are these are major uh, diseases. Even apart from that, there are maggots, pebrine, and polyhedrosis. What do you mean by these maggots? Maggot disease, this is the disease caused by the Trichogia sorbitans. This is very common through in India, Japan, Korea, and China, and this is another major problem. Uh, these maggots will lay milky white cylindrical eggs on the skin of the silkworm larva. They will lay the white cylindrical eggs on the skin of the silkworm larva. That is a symptom of this disease. Once these insects lay larva after 30 to 40 hours of egg laying, maggots are formed inside the eggshell. Maggots means what? Small worms in ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ರಿಮಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. Small minute maggots will appear, and then these maggots will penetrate into the body of the silkworm larva and start eating the tissues and larvae. Then another one, the pebrine. This is one of the worst diseases of silkworm. Usually it takes place, infection takes place through the mouth of the larva at the time of feeding. If the food is contaminated, there's a chance of getting the pebrine. When new spores are formed in the tissues of alimentary canal of the silkworm, once they enter the body of the silkworm means that some spores are formed in the tissues of alimentary canal of silkworm. Then the larva will start discharging feces and makes the sources for infection for other worms also. So that's why this is also one of the major problems. Then the third one is intestinal nuclear polyhedrosis. Intestinal nuclear polyhedrosis. This disease, the virus makes polyhedra inside the cytoplasm. Not only cytoplasm, even the nucleus of the midgut of cylindrical cells. It forms large polyhedra are formed, and as a result, there will be continuous diarrhea in this one, and cephalothoracic region starts shrinking. Apart from these diseases, sometimes you will get pests also. There are certain pests which are very dangerous for this silkworm. In this, the important pests are either they be parasites or predators, ultimately cause destruction to the silkworm. One is the uji flies. One is that is the Tricholygia bombycis. Young maggots bore into the body of silkworm and live in the body and start eating the fatty body and thus causing the death of the worm. Another problem is dermestid beetles. They feed on the cocoon itself. And the other predators are maybe ants, rats, lizards, squirrels, and other birds will also come to this. So, this is in brief about the sericulture rearing. In the sense, uh, starting from cultivation of mulberry leaves to different types of silk that are both mulberry and non-mulberry silks, and then how the rearing of the silkworms are done. One is the chalky rearing, the rearing of the young worms, and another one the late age rearing. So once you transfer the larva for spinning the cocoons to the chandrike, then within 4 to 5 days you have to market it. Otherwise, what happens? The pupa will metamorphose into adult, and once they are for adults develop, they will cut open the cocoon and come out and start mating. When the cocoons are opened or cut, they do not have any value. Then after this, the cocoons are marketed. From the cocoons, the silk fibers are taken. That is what is known as reeling. Reeling is not generally done by the farmers. There are many reeling units where they purchase the cocoons and take the thread. So this is what I have told you in brief about the sericulture. Now I have